So the first resolution is on the incredibly important topic of adult social care. I'm so glad we've got a resolution on that, particularly this year, with the work that our government, and I know many others, are doing on the topic. It's been proposed by Hilary Hughes, who is an NCW individual member, with Alison Newell, who is a member of the Management Committee and a trustee. Hilary was moved to propose the resolution following her first and very difficult experience dealing with adult social care in relation to her mother-in-law, and realised that much improvement was needed in the sector. I think that may be an understatement, but it's spurred Hilary to put this resolution together with Alison, who feels very strongly about the subject. So, as you probably know, all of you, we have 12 minutes for the presenters, the proposer and the seconder, to present their speeches about the resolution, and then we'll go to discussion. I'm going to put my timer on my phone, so we'll stick to the 12 minutes, and then we will open the meeting up to debate and discussion. So Hilary and Alison, I think Hilary first, the floor is yours. And I'm going to move over and put my timer on, not until you've actually started, to be fair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. The National Council of Women in Conference assembled calls upon the UK government to deliver a robust, fair and efficient alternative to ease the funding crisis that adult social care is in. This is in response to the government's announcement to cancel the proposed recommendations from the 2011 Commission on Funding of Care and Support, known as the Dilnot Report, that it looked at a new approach to the funding of the adult social care. The different levels of care required for a diverse society and its many wants needs to be mapped out clearly and fairly across all local authorities around the UK to enable all areas to have equal access to all types of care and funding. Currently, there is no national government budget for adult social care in England. Instead, publicly funded social care is mostly financed through local government revenue. The King's Fund, an independent charitable organisation working to improve health and care in England, explains, unlike NHS services, social care is not free at the point of use. The government's manifesto around social care begins with the principle of home first, that supports people to live independently for as long as possible. For this to happen, more support is needed for the many unpaid carers, usually made up of family and predominantly women. Where home first is not a safe option, extra facilities and funding are required to support people away from their home. In a bid to lower immigration levels, the government's issued health and care visas have fallen dramatically, 81% lower in some months. The care industry say they face a precarious future. Quality training and fair wages that reflect the immense importance of the job roles and the work that is required when caring for people are needed to help retain good people, give credence to a career in care, and the proper respect that should be there for staff and service users alike. In July 2011, Andrew Dilnot, who was the chair of the Commission on this funding and care and support, said, "The issue of funding for adult social care has been ignored for too long. We should be celebrating the fact we're living longer and that younger people with disabilities are leading more independent lives than ever before. But instead, we talk about the burden of ageing, and individuals are living in fear, worrying about care meeting their care costs. The current system is confusing, unfair and unsustainable. People can't protect themselves against the risk of very high care costs and risk losing all their assets, including their house. This problem will only get worse if left as it is, with the most vulnerable in our society being the ones to suffer. Under the proposed scheme, everybody who gets free support from the state will continue to do so, and everybody else would be better off. Putting a limit on the maximum lifetime costs people may face will allow them to plan ahead for how they wish to meet these costs. By protecting a larger amount of people's assets, they need no longer fear losing everything. 13 years on, I see that the issues are still to be addressed and have now multiplied. So, my proposer's speech. As we're all being told, and many have experienced, the social care system is sinking and many councils are going bankrupt because of the huge costs in keeping it afloat. What is being done? What is hindering its success, and how can we make the process more streamlined, simple and more caring as well as cost effective? Most people who have to deal with social care are doing it at a time when they are upset, struggling for money, older and ill, and increasing cases dealing with dementia. The administration that is required can be daunting for most people, and even more so when in a stressful and time-critical situation. It appears that each local authority runs their social care in a different way, different rules and different meanings of the terms of reference. My family have recently experienced this in Merseyside. Liverpool has 3 different local authorities and all have different rules, different money, and at times use the same words for services but mean different things. Crossing county lines, which sometimes families need to do to get the right care, can be complicated, especially when the professionals are all talking differently or using jargon. I've also been told by staff using them that the computer systems at times do not seem fit for purpose. Social services are based in councils and in hospitals, but are not under the same departments. They work separately, even though they are in theory providing the same service. The difficulties that the NHS have add to all this, and we can all see a perfect storm on the horizon when the most vulnerable of our society can be left in limbo or fall through the administrative cracks or not get the care they need at the right time. It's a huge problem, a huge piece of work to investigate and discuss and come up with ideas for. But as we are all getting older or have older family members and friends that we may have to support, it is an important issue. We have to be invested in this sector, as most of us will one day need to access it, and therefore we should have and do have the right to support, influence and direct the decision making on how to make it more robust. History also tells us that the main carers in society are women. This needs to change, of course, but it also means that the subject is important to women. Proper funding is paramount to provide good service and to provide the right services for each situation. The care sector industry itself is sounding alarm bells and raising concerns, and some are accusing the government of dropping their pledge to improve social care, as it has abandoned the proposed cap on costs and is preparing to scrap a care working training fund. The Association of Directors of Adult Social Services have recently presented a report and a roadmap to reform care and support, in this case in England. Its president, Sarah McClinton, has said, "After decades of false dawns on reforms and funding, never in my professional career have I seen the adult care system so close to breaking point. Millions of people are in pain or distress because they aren't getting the care they need, and family and friends picking up the pieces are being pushed to the edge." A few of my own thoughts are as follows. A&E in hospitals can be frightening, stressful and busy. A proposal for specific A&Es for the older person that can link straight into social care in an emergency may be a solution, rather than that person getting caught up in the day-to-day A&E emergencies. Bringing back convalescent homes and community hospitals that are geared up for the older population could perhaps help, so that main hospitals can just deal with accidents, emergencies and planned surgery. Shared best practice across all regions is paramount. Different areas are starting to approach the issue. One local NHS has announced that it is launching a centre of excellence for frailty to support the health and care of older residents. This is in Humber in North Yorkshire. If it is found to work in one area, it may well work in many and save money by preventing everyone trying separately to reinvent the wheel. We need to query the use of government statistics and their desperation in getting cases closed in record time just to look good. I've experienced using the 111 helpline when a doctor explained he had to close the case that day even though it wasn't completed. The family couldn't have a reference number to pass on to other professionals as the incident moved across different departments. The conversation had to start again every time we talk to someone. There's no joined up thinking. Accessing the care system includes the completion of huge forms. This information is required for safeguarding purposes and to make sure public funds are not abused, but they are complicated. Families can be suddenly hit with care home top-up fees. This can have an adverse effect on their own personal situation. There are deferred payments as an option, like a bridging loan, but they can come with an administration fee that can be eye-wateringly huge, and the list goes on. Family members who take over the care themselves can claim an allowance, and then this may affect their own work income, work that they might need for extra money, but also as a break from their care role. As seen in the news recently, some people have come unstuck, mainly due to the Department of Work and Pensions not telling them quick enough they were over the limit. Providing care is a huge responsibility, emotionally and physically draining, and people who do this are to be respected and supported. So the balance of all money, both income and benefits, needs to be clearer and fairer. The emphasis on good mental health is constantly in the news, so all the above needs to work better for all mental health, and in theory, less people will require the services of the NHS and the care system if we aren't all driven towards ill health by trying to navigate it. Our 18 to 30 network group could get involved, as this will affect their future. NCW should link in with other campaign groups on this subject. There is strength in numbers. We should link in with the care industry to discuss their suggestions and the challenges that they face, so that we can present our concerns, ideas, and collective suggestions to the government. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Hilary, for presenting us with such an excellent resolution, which I'm happy to second. I thought I'd share some notes from a briefing prepared by the King's Fund, the charity working in health and social care that Hilary mentioned. Some notes from a briefing they prepared for a debate held in the House of Lords last year. As we're all aware, demand for care is going up, but access to care is going down. Recent analysis shows that overall requests for social care have hit a record high, yet support from local authorities has dropped. 58,000 fewer older people now receive long-term care than they did in 2015-16. Financial eligibility is tighter. If the means test upper threshold had increased in line with inflation since 2010, it would have been nearly £5,500 higher by 2021. By not rising in line with inflation, in effect, the means test has got meaner. Meanwhile, the repeated failure to introduce a cap on lifetime care costs means that 1 in 7 older people face costs of more than £100,000. Carers are receiving less support. Despite the ambition of the 2014 Care Act, no more carers receive support than they did in 2015, and fewer people receive paid support such as direct payments. More details on these and other trends can be seen in the Social Care 360 report on the King's Fund website. Now, there's rumoured to be a meeting with the Health Secretary, the Prime Minister and the Chancellor on Monday to discuss the promised National Care Service and to try and make some progress. Whether that is by a Royal Commission, as has been suggested by some, or by a government-backed independent review, something needs to be done rather than just talked about. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Oh, sorry, am I on? Yeah. Thank you so much, Hilary and Alison. Absolutely perfect and on time as well, which is a wonderful start. Thank you so, so much. That was just great. Sorry, I'm just turning my timer off so we don't get interrupted. Fabulous, really interesting points, I think, and so, so timely. My computer on the desk here isn't working, so I can't see. Sorry, Keith, I can't see if anyone's put anything in the chat. But we're now open for discussion for about 10 minutes. We've got microphones in the room here, which you'll need to use so that our colleagues on Zoom can hear you. Thank you, Keith. So have we got questions in the room? Did I see Kath putting her hand up? No? Oh, sorry, Kath. Hang on just a sec.
I'm not sure. Is it on? All right.
Yes, just hold them quite close to your mouth.
Yes, I am. I had 19 and a half years as part of this care sector. 13 years looking after him at home, and then with the nursing home sector after that. It is absolutely diabolical. You've got to be able to jump every hoop. You've got to be able to learn pages of information, or else you can't deal with the sector. They will put every obstacle in your way, believe you me. And the other thing was, yes, we thought he was about to retire, and we thought we had enough money not to be really well off, but to be comfortable. But looking after him for 19 and a half years in all different ways, because paying for 2 carers 4 times a day can be not quite as expensive as the nursing home, but it's not far off. So now I'm left with, I'm not poor, desperately poor, but I have no savings left now. It all went on his care. And 19 and a half years was an awful long time. So yes, I am very well aware of what goes on. That when we moved here to Darlington, the social services department was left behind in Durham County. So I had to jump between Darlington, a separate council, and Durham. That shouldn't have to happen. You should be able to move sectors, but you can't. You've got to deal with both.
Indeed.
So it's very, very difficult, believe you me.
And I think the personal histories, such as yours, Kath, thank you so much for sharing that with us, are just, they're the crux of this, because that's what it's all about. Thank you.
It's got a lot worse.
Yes, yeah.
It's got an awful lot worse in the last 2 years since he died.
Indeed.
Because people are contacting me all the time, and the situation is really dire now.
Thank you. Yes.
Right.
Mark, thank you. Jackie, just in front of you, Jan.
Oh, thank you very much.
So Jackie Taylor.
Okay, thank you very much for that.
Yes, actually, if you just say who you are,
Yeah.
so that people on Zoom know who's asking the questions. Sorry, I should have said that.
Hilary and Alison, I just want to thank you for this motion, which obviously I will be supporting. But I think it's important for me to declare an interest, because I'm Cabinet Member for Health and Social Care in Sandwell in the West Midlands. And my question to both Alison and to Hilary is this. We have competing demands in local authorities, as you know. Adult health and social care is often seen as the Cinderella of services. And being the Cinderella of services, that means that children are normally put as a priority, children's services. And I just wanted to know, in terms of those competing demands, what would your view be with regards to that, Hilary, and then Alison? Thank you.
Well, thanks for the question, Jackie. Yes, I see exactly where you're coming from, because as I was writing the resolution, I was thinking it could almost mirror some of the problems that we had with the children's services as well, because I expect that some families have similar difficulties when they're dealing with the younger generation as well, especially I think children with disabilities. There's a huge holes in the support there as well, and of course the children are then going to grow up to be adults with maybe issues, so they'll need support from the care throughout. It goes to the sort of the old NHS standard of cradle to the grave motto that doesn't seem to exist anymore, because we have to admit there's more of us wanting it, and the money's got to be found from somewhere. So I'm all for best practice, so that if we find something that works of adult social care that you think, even if it's the admin side, would work for children's services, then share it. It's at the end of the day, a service is a service, and a family is a family, regardless of the age of who's needing it. So, everybody's unique, everybody will have a different need, but the main bulk of the service, which is, and a big chunk of it is admin, that needs to be streamlined, that needs to be straightforward, and logical. It's not logical at the moment, and it needs to be the same across all parts of the country. So then if anybody has something that's slightly different, slightly more difficult, then people have got the time and the energy to deal with that situation because all the background stuff just, rolls on nicely. So I mean, I'm talking about adult social care here, but I really think you could link it in with child social care at the same time. They should, they could support each other because the children will suddenly become adults as well. So it just needs to be smoother and more logical for everybody who's accessing all types of care. That's how I see it. So.
Thank you, Hilary. Thank you, Jackie, for that question. It really is a conundrum, isn't it? Yeah. Do we have any other questions in the room, or is there anyone who's joining us online with a question? I can't see on my screen, I'm afraid. Have you got anyone, Keith? No one at the moment. Anyone else want to make a comment?
I'll make a comment.
Yeah,
sorry, I'll make a comment
Jan.
myself. It's not necessarily related to adult social care, but it's generally the question of communication within the NHS, which is, I think, one of the things that's come up here, is that departments work in silos and don't talk to each other, and administrations. And I had personal experience when I was hospitalised a couple of years ago and got caught between two different departments. And as the doctor explained to me, in the old days, he could walk across to his colleague further down the ward and have a discussion. Nowadays, he's not allowed to do that. He actually has to put in a request to the ward administrator, who have to email it to the ward administrator from the other ward, and the two consultants are not allowed to speak until an official meeting is arranged. And that's the sort of administration that is a real problem. We also have it where I live on the borders between two authorities, Newark and Nottinghamshire and Lincolnshire, and those two authorities don't even communicate by email or computer. So if you get referred to something in one district, you have to request all the copies and notes yourselves and take it physically with you to the other district. And it's that sort of layers of administration that have been put in that are draining some of the funding. So I think the funding is the major issue here, and administration, as Hilary has said as well.
Thank you, Jan. Thank you. We've got a comment from Nadra Ahmed, the chair of the National Carers Association. Nadra, would you like to make your comment?
Yeah, I wasn't. Sorry, I wasn't sure if I was allowed to comment because I'm a guest. But
at this stage of the meeting, you are. When we come to vote on the resolution, you can't.
Yes,
We're delighted to have your comments now.
No, I mean, I just wanted to say that I think that the baseline around where social care is and the creaking that's happening is that we're actually looking after people with very, very complex healthcare needs, whereas social care originally was for people. When I used to run care services myself, people used to walk in, drive in. This was in the 80s and 90s. But what's happened is it's moved, and we're sort of running mini hospitals. And that's where the challenge is, because the funding never followed, and actually the perceptions have also increased. So we're not talking about prevention when we talk about social care anymore. We're actually looking at the trying to deal with very, very complex healthcare needs. And I think that needs to be funded properly. So I just wanted to say that, just listening to some of the comments, we hear it all the time. Nearly all the time, people are really, really worried about the funding issue. So that was all I wanted to say at this stage. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's really helpful. I think we're about at our time limit for discussion, but thank you so much, everyone, for your comments. We'll be voting in the AGM this afternoon on whether we adopt this resolution or not. I must say I was very struck when I think Hilary said that this was something that would be well worked on by a combination of different women's organisations, because it is an issue that affects everyone, of course, but particularly women for all the reasons given. And I must say I'm inclined that could be something that NCW could take forward, but we'll talk about that a bit later. But can I thank Hilary and Alison on your behalf for a very, very thought-provoking and timely resolution. Thank you.
Thank you.